Welcome to Mindful Leadership, Transforming Lives, with your host, Singh. This is where leadership meets purpose, presence, and passion. In today's fast paced, high pressure world, we face a leadership crisis. Too often, teams are led by managers who lack empathy, clarity, and vision, leaving individuals uninspired, disconnected, and undervalued. But it doesn't have to be this way. Great leadership isn't born, it's built. The end game: empower your leadership, inspire the world. Every week, join me, your host Singh, as we tackle the gaps in leadership and life coaching head on, learning how mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and compassion can redefine success. This isn't just another podcast, it's a mission to fill the void left by ineffective leadership. And it's not just about leadership in business. Life coaching for leaders and new executives is at heart of this journey. Ready to rise above the noise and lead with clarity, purpose, and impact? Join a global movement dedicated to reshaping the future of leadership one mindful moment at a time. Let's begin.
Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Leadership Podcast on the Transformation Network. The podcast where we turn stress into strategy, overthinking into clarity, and overwhelm into momentum. I'm your host, Singh, and leadership coach who knows that growth does not depend and does not happen through burnout. It happens through alignment. So let's begin. All right, let's set the stage for today. You are in a brainstorm session with your team. You have got your coffee, your laptops open, and you hit with your best open line. Okay, let's get creative, people. And what you get? Silence. Not the peaceful, reflective kind. No, this is that awkward kind. The kind where everyone is suddenly fascinated by their coffee mugs or pretending their Wi Fi cutting out. Finally, someone works up the nerve to say, uh, maybe we could like add a button, and before you can respond, they're already backtracking. Actually, forget it. It's probably a bad idea. Sound familiar, friends? Yeah, I thought so. And here's the thing, that silence, that hesitation, it is not because your team is not creative. It is because they're afraid of looking stupid, afraid of being wrong, afraid of failure. So let us be clear, that is not creativity, that is survival mode. And if your team is stuck in survival mode, that is not on them, that is on you. Because here's the truth, innovation is not about your team's creativity, it is about your leadership behavior. If you want your team to think big, take risks, share bold, messy ideas, you have got to create a culture where they feel safe to do it. And guess what? That happens by accident? No, that happens by design. So here's the promise. By end of this episode, you're going to have a game plan to create culture where creativity thrives, failure feels normal, and small experiments leads to big breakthroughs. Grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and let's get into it because innovation does not start with ideas. It starts with permission. Let me hit you with a stat that might surprise you. The number one driver of innovation is not talent. No, it's not talent. It's not funding. It's not flashy tools or even a killer strategy. The number one driver of innovation is psychological safety. Yep, psychological safety. The idea that people feel safe enough to speak up, to share ideas, and yes, even fail in front of their team. Think about that for a second. You could hire the sharpest minds in your industry, stack your team with Ivy League grads, and give them all the resources in the world. But if they are afraid of looking stupid, afraid of being judged, or getting dinged for an idea because somebody thought it was not good, they're not innovating, they're surviving. And here's the truth, my friend, that is us, on us as leaders, that is on us. If people don't feel permission to innovate, it is because we have not created an environment where they feel safe to take risk. Let's make this concrete. When teams don't feel permission, You're not just losing ideas, you're losing engagement, you're losing ownership, and frankly, the future leaders who are quietly checking out because while they play it safe, that is the cost of inaction. So, if innovation starts with permission, how do we give it? So, let's break it down. Innovation starts with permission. So, creating permission is not about a rara speech or slapping thing big, posters on the wall. It is about your behavior. Here is an example. Picture a brainstorming session. You toss an idea and it totally flops, dead on arrival. What happens next? Do you laugh it off and say, well, that did not work, what else? Or did you get defensive, try to explain it away, or worse, shut the meeting down? Because here's the thing, your team takes its cues from you. You're not modeling curiosity, experimentation, resilience. So they won't either. Permission starts with you saying, hey, it's okay to throw out bad ideas. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to take a swing and miss. That is how you create a culture where people feel safe enough to share. And that is where the good ideas start showing up. Now, let's talk about another myth that kills innovation. And I've seen this hundreds of times. The idea that it has to be huge. The next $1 billion idea, the next iPhone, the next Tesla. But here's the thing, big breakthroughs don't start big, they start small. Let me give you an example. A team once I worked with had this workflow that was driving everyone nuts. It was clunky, slow, full of unnecessary steps. Instead of overhauling the whole system, which let's be real, would take in months, we asked one question. What one small tweak we can make this week to improve by 1%? And that is all it took. One small change led to another. And over time, those micro innovations snowballed into a system and a process that was faster, smoother, and way less stressful. And here is the takeaway, innovation is not about moonshots, it is about momentum. A 1% improvement may not sound sexy, but small, consistent steps lead to big results. And the best part, it lowers the stakes, which means your team more likely to participate. No one is afraid of trying small. Now let's talk about feedback because this is where a lot of leaders accidentally kill creativity. How many times have you heard or said something like, that won't work? We have tried that before. Friends, here's the problem. When you shut down an idea, even gently, you're not just rejecting the idea, you're rejecting the person who shared it. And next time, they are staying silent. So here is a better way. Instead of saying that won't work, try asking, what would it look like if we took this further? Or what is the risk if we don't try this? This kind of feedback does two things. First, it keeps the conversation alive. It invites collaboration instead of shutting it down. And second, it sends a message to your team. Your ideas matter, your voice matter. And when people like to hear and they feel that they matter, they show up. So here is a quick hack. At your next meeting, after someone pitches an idea, ask a follow-up question. Instead of giving an immediate opinion and watch what happens. It's like putting fuel on fire. So innovation starts with permission. Your team needs to know it is okay to take risk, share bad ideas, and fail, because that is how you get to good stuff. Micro innovations beat moonshots. Small, consistent improvements are how you build momentum, confidence, and trust. Feedback is fuel. When you reframe feedback as a conversation, not a critique, you create a culture where creativity thrives. And here's the bottom line, innovation is not about having all the answers, it is about creating the conditions where your team feels safe, safe enough to ask better questions, try bold ideas, and learn from what does not work. And guess what? That starts with you. So let's get to work. All right, let's get real. How many times have you walked into a meeting or a brainstorming session ready to tackle something big, only to feel the energy in the room tank the second you said, all right, who's got an idea? It's like you just asked everyone to admit who forgot to mute their mic on Zoom. Panic sets in, shoulders tense, and suddenly everyone is thinking, please don't call on me. Here is the thing, creativity does not thrive under pressure, fear, and innovation. They don't exactly share a cubicle. If you want your team or heck, even yourself to think clearly and creatively, you have to got to reset the energy. You have got to flip the switch from, oh no, what if it fails, to what's possible if I try. And that is where today's exercise, permit reset, comes in. It's a 60-second micro practice designed to take you out of fear mode and into a clarity mode. You can use it before a meeting, a big pitch, or even in the middle of a tough decision. And here's the best part. As all frameworks that I share, it is simple, repeatable, and it works. So let's walk through. So here is how it works. We are breaking it down into 6 steps. First, pause. Pause the pressure. The first thing, remind yourself nothing needs to be perfect right this moment. Perfectionism is a creativity killer. When you give yourself permission to let go of perfection, you take the pressure off and make space for possibility. Step two, exhale the fear. Now, take a deep breath. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it for, and exhale through your mouth for six. Go ahead, try it now. Why does it work? Because your brain cannot problem solve when your nervous system is on high alert. That long exhale tells your body, hey, we are safe, we got this. And then step three. And here's where removing the sticks, the mindset shift, frame this moment as an experiment, not a verdict. This is not about proving yourself, it is about trying something new. When you lower the stakes, you raise the chance of participation. Next step, ask yourself, what is the smallest version of this we could try? Forget the big sweeping solutions for now. Focus on one small step forward. This is how momentum begins, with small, manageable wins. And step five, invite the messy idea. And here where the magic happens. Ask your team or yourself questions like, what is bad idea worth saying out loud? Or what is the obvious thing we have been avoiding? See, messy ideas are gateway to momentum. You don't get to great without first going through messy. And finally, reinforce the effort, not just the outcome, right? Thanks for putting out there. Even if the idea is not perfect, the act of trying is what builds trust, creativity, and growth. That is it. 6 steps in 60 seconds. So let's try it again, right? Wherever you are, whether you're driving, walking, or procrastinating on Slack, let's do this together, right? Take a deep breath. Inhale through your nose, hold it, exhale slowly through your mouth. Now remind yourself nothing needs to be perfect right now. Let go of the pressure. Think of a challenge you're facing and reframe it. Say to yourself, this is just an experiment. What is one small thing I can try? And finally, say it loud or in your head. Thanks for showing up and giving this a shot. Feel that. That is clarity creeping back in. That is creativity waking up. And here's the deal, the permit reset is not just a cute little acronym, it is a gateway to better leadership, better creativity, and better outcomes. Use it before your next meeting, teach it to your team, make it part of your routine. Because when you pause the pressure, exhale the fear, invite messy ideas, you don't just unlock innovation, you unlock people. And That is how you lead with clarity, courage, and creativity. All right. Now that you have got the permit reset locked and loaded, let's put it to work. Because here's the deal: a mindset shift is great, but action is where magic happens. So here is your challenge, your 1% innovation challenge. It is simple. I want you to think about one small experiment you or your team can try this week. Not a moonshot, not a massive overhaul, just a tiny 1% improvement. Why 1%? Because 1% is doable. It does not trigger your inner perfectionist or your team's fear of failure. It is like the difference between saying, I'm going to run a marathon and saying, I will walk to the mailbox today. One small action creates momentum, and that momentum, that is how breakthroughs are born. Let me make this real for you. Think about your day to day. What is one thing that frustrates you or slows your team down? Maybe it is that one meeting that could have been an email. Maybe it is a clunky process that everyone complains about, but no one fixes. Or maybe it is not even a work thing. Maybe it is just the way you start your morning. Here is an idea: start small and ask yourself or your team, what is one thing we could change to make this 1% better? Let's say your team is stuck in meetings that drag on forever. Your 1% improvement could be something as simple as creating a no meeting zone on Fridays or setting a 20-minute timer for discussions. It is not life changing by itself, but it is a step, and every step that you take matters. Now, here's the kicker: before you dive into your experiment, I want you to use the permit reset to prepare. Take a moment to pause the pressure and remind yourself this is not about being perfect, it is about trying something new. Take that deep breath, exhale the fear, and frame this as an experiment, not a verdict. Because when you lower the stakes, you raise curiosity. And you raise curiosity, you unlock creativity. And that is how you go from what if it fails to what if this works. Right now, grab a pen, open your notes app, or just think about it. What is one small thing you can improve by 1% this week? Write it down and commit to it. Share it with your team. Say, hey, I'm trying this 1% experiment this week. What is yours? Because when you model curiosity and action, you give your team permission to do the same. And here's the thing: you don't need to reinvent the wheel this week. You just need to nudge it forward, because every 1% improvement adds up. Every tweak, every experiment, every messy idea, it is all building momentum toward something bigger. So take the breath, lower the stakes, commit to your experiment. And you need little extra push. Just remember, progress beats perfection every single time. All right. This is where your leadership journey goes from good intentions to clear directions. Let's talk about purpose for a second. You know that feeling when you're scrolling through Slack at 10 p.m., trying to figure out why none of your big ideas are sticking? Or when you're second guessing every decision you make because you're not sure if it is the right move? Yeah, that is not a strategy problem. That is a clarity problem. Because here's the thing: when you know what fuels you, what truly lights you up, you stop hesitating. You stop overthinking. You start leading with intention, not just reaction. And that's where the purpose factor assessment comes in. This is not some fluffy personality quiz to tell you what kind of pizza topping you are. No, you're not pepperoni. This is a tool designed to help you uncover what drives you, your core motivators, your leadership strengths, so you can lead with clarity, curiosity, and courage. DM me the words curious leader on LinkedIn. I'll send you the purpose factor assessment. It is quick, less than 20 minutes. Powerful, gives you not only your current state, but also how you can go from point A to point B. It's going to give you the kind of clarity that makes every decision easier. Because when you know your purpose, everything changes. Innovation, it stops feeling like a guessing game and starts feeling like a second nature. Leadership, it gets lighter because you're not just managing tasks, you're managing driving towards something bigger. And here is the truth: teams follow leaders who know where they are going. Purpose is not just permission for you to lead boldly, it is a permission your team needs to trust you. So here's the move right now. Before you get distracted by another email or TikTok rabbit hole, DM me the words curious leader. Let's cover what fuels you so you can stop spinning your wheels and start leading with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Because the best leaders are not the ones who have all the answers, they are the ones who know why they are leading in the first place. And let me help you find your why. Now, going back to P.E.R.M.I.T reset once again, it is a very strong tool. The moment you pause and you take that deep breath, as always, the same thing, all these mindful practices, you have to become the observer, not verdict, right? You pause, take few deep breaths. That is going to activate your prefrontal cortex and disengage your fight and flight amygdala. And when you get centered, get paused, and you exhale the fear, and it is an experiment. See, one of the biggest problem with humanity today in our system, the biggest problem is we make expectation of a result. We plan a result, which is good, but then because we have committed to it, we become emotionally attached to the result. And when we start working in the current presence, we are still stuck with the emotional weight of our expectations. I'm not saying that you don't have to plan. Absolutely, everybody needs to have a plan. But you don't get emotionally attached absolutely with how it's going to look because you're not there yet. You don't know what it's going to look like. You have only planned for the future. You're not gone there yet. Now, what you're doing, what you're missing is that experiment. This is an experiment. Every moment, it is an activity that you're doing that is giving you a result. So, in an experiment, you do an activity, there is a result. If you like the result, you do more of it. If you don't like it, you change something in your experiment. The problem here is because we get so emotionally attached to the outcome because we committed to it publicly that we forget to enjoy the present moment experiment. Think about it. And I have this conversation with almost everyone I mentor. Think about it. If you say that you are always present in the moment, when was the last time you said somebody, I love you? And you actually remember all the five senses, what the air was around you, what kind of smell it was around you, what was the temperature, right? That is the experiment that we forget all the time. And once you have logged and loaded on that, the second part of mindful practice is that smallest movement that you make, intentional smallest movement that you make towards the next step. So again, take a moment to pause the pressure and remind yourself this is not about being perfect, it is about trying something new. Take that deep breath and exhale the fear. And frame this as an experiment, not a verdict. And then intentional 1% next step that we take. Going back to purpose factor assessment, we not only help you understand what frustrates you, what fulfills you, but then we have a larger conversation of teaching you how to reflect back in your life and seeing the things that's happening on an ongoing basis. Like I talked about, I just mentioned, what is that 1% I will change in my day to day? But if you don't even know what is happening throughout the day with you, how can you come up with that plan? Right? That's where reflection comes. And then we work on organizing like we do with any other curious leader. That's why the DM is always curious leader, and let's uncover what fuels you. So you can stop spinning your wheels and start leading with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Because the best leaders are not the ones who have all the answers. They are ones who know why they are leading in the first place. Let's find your why. All right, let's bring it home. Here is what we have covered today. 3 game changing truths about innovation. Innovation starts with permission, not perfection. If your team is stuck in survival mode, it is not because they lack creativity. It is because they're waiting for you to create the space where it is safe to think big and fail forward. Second, small experiments leads to big breakthroughs. Forget the moonshots for now. Instead, focus on those 1% improvements, the little tweaks that build momentum and unlock confidence. Because when you lower the stakes, you raise participation. And then third, the permit reset is your new secret weapon. Permission is not just something you give to your team, it is something you give to yourself. Pause the pressure, exhale the fear, frame it as an experiment, not a verdict. This tool is not just for brainstorming, it is for everything that feels stuck. But here's the thing I need you to really hear. Innovation is not about having all the answers, it's about creating the space to ask better questions. So this week, I want you to do 3 things. Take the breath before you dive into your next challenge. Pause for just a moment, reset your nervous system, and remind yourself this does not need to be perfect. It just need to move forward. When you lead with curiosity, you don't just create a culture of innovation, you create a culture of possibility. And that, my friends, that is the kind of leadership that changes everything. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Mindful Leadership Transforming Lives on the Transformation Radio. I am Singh, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take the breath, ask the question, try the messy idea. Because when you do, you're not just leading, you're inspiring. And as always, you've got this.
Thank you for watching Mindful Leadership Transforming Lives. With me, your host, Singh. We are honored to have you join us on this journey to explore the transformative power of mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and authentic leadership. Tune in every week on transformationtalkradio.com at noon Pacific on Tuesdays, where we will continue to explore how mindful leadership can create a ripple effect of positive changes in your life and lives of those you influence. This show is dedicated to helping you lead with purpose, presence, and passion. Whether you're navigating the complexities of business, building strong connection with your team, or striving to make a meaningful impact in the world around you. To learn more about the show, access additional resources, or dive deeper, visit singpowerupcoach.com. Remember, leadership isn't just about what you do. It's about who you are. Let's continue to transform lives together, one mindful moment at a time. See you next week.